there are a lot of words that I don't know yet. And sometimes I read a nice sentence or I discover a cool word that I didn't know before, and then I write it down and
figure out a way to get into your next song.
Yeah. Or maybe it inspires me to write something about that subject.
Hello and welcome to the Earfuel podcast. As always, I'm Joel Freemark, and you can follow me on Twitter at @GetEarfuel and at The Daily Guru. The podcast is available at soundcloud.com/GetEarfuel and via the iTunes store under Earfuel. What you heard at the top was a clip from my interview the other week with the band Eerie Wanda. I reviewed their album a few weeks back, and we will get into that right after a quick look at another new record. The record I want to look at this week is the brand new one from Bob Mould, and it's called Patch the Sky. I think this is something like his 11th or 12th solo record, something like that, but you know him from bands like Sugar and, of course, the great Husker Du. The last few solo albums he's released have shown a slower turn to kind of the louder, more fuzz-filled sounds, and this, honestly, this might be his best yet. I did not expect to love this record as much as I do. Let me get one thing out of the way. This is one of those records you're going to find yourself turning up louder and louder and louder as it goes. It is true rock glory in every way possible, and this record just gets the job done for sure. It flows so well from song to song. It kicks off in high gear with the track Voices in My Head, and then it pushes things to another level with the song after that, which is called The End of Things. Songs like You Say You, Pray for Rain, and Hands Are Tied are all more than solid, and you can really feel him bringing together everything he's done and learned musically over, wow, it's been like 4 decades now. I think Husker Du formed in 79. Whew, okay. I'm not sure if my favorite song is You Say You or Losing Sleep, but it's the center of this record that I found the most intriguing. There's just so many layers on the songs, and as you peel them back, you actually find a very unique but heartbreaking juxtaposition going on. So many of these songs sound really dark in terms of the lyrics, but it's far from depressing overall because I don't know how to say it. It's like he's showing us how to lament and mourn through the power and fury of music. Like, you can feel his pain and sorrow, but the songs are simultaneously life-affirming. It's something that is very rarely achieved on record, but he does it on almost every song here. And for that reason alone, this is one you absolutely need to check out. I mean, what we basically have here is Bob has found 2 other musicians that he locks in with so well. They understand where he wants to go, how these songs need to breathe, and it just sounds so good. The same time, though, you just can't get past the point that while they may be dark in nature, they light up. This is a killer road trip record for sure, and even if you don't know these songs, you're going to rock out with them and get into them completely. Trust me. Whether it's that classic Husker Du sound, a bit of psychedelic, or just some in-your-face, perfectly distorted rock, this is already one of my favorite releases of the year, so go make some time and give it a spin or 3. Moving on, a few weeks back during my podcast, I think it was the one where Steve Poltz was on, I told you about the brilliant debut album from the Dutch group Irie Wanda. The record is called Hum, and it is absolutely extraordinary. The other week, before they took the stage for their first New York City show ever, I was able to get about 10 minutes of their time to talk music and touring and all sorts of things. So sit back, relax, and get to know Irie Wanda. I think the place I want to start is your name. Irie Wanda. Where did that come from?
Just something I made up once.
Do you see it as a person, an idea?
Yeah, kind of like a character.
Mm-hmm. Is that in any way related to the songs? Is it a character that you follow, or is it just kind of like you liked the name and that's the name of the band and that's kind of it?
When I thought about that name, I saw this certain character that had certain qualities. I think it was all pretty abstract, but yeah, there was something about this character that I also hear in the music, something.
Mm-hmm. How did you guys come together as a band? You said, because you said you played with
our
other
mutual
groups.
friend, Jacco Gardner.
Uh-huh. Sure, sure.
Jacco sent me her demos, like 4 of them. She had a SoundCloud with some demos on it, and Jacco sent them to me, and I was like, oh, I really want to make music with her because I had never heard a songwriter in Holland, where we come from.
Sure.
that sounded so pure and fresh, and I fell in love with the songs immediately.
And are those songs on the album?
Yeah,
or those...
they all are.
Okay,
yeah.
So you know which those are.
Oh yeah.
And that is obviously the most intriguing thing to me, is the music that you create as a band. It's a little bit dream pop. It's a little bit psych. It's a little bit kind of retro. There's surf rock elements in there. Where did you guys pull your influence? Like, what music did you listen to growing up?
My dad had a really big record collection, so I listened to like a lot of stuff, like from jazz to classical music to pop, reggae, just everything. But for me, it really started with Buddy Holly. He was like the first one that really spoke to me. Like when I was 12 or 13, I went to this musical in London called The Buddy Holly Story.
Sure.
And from there on, I really discovered music on my own, kind of. And I got into the Beatles and stuff like that.
It happens. That happens.
Yeah, and now there's just so much music I listen to. It's like it's all over the place. But lately, I've been into like exotic stuff from the 60s and 70s, like Turkish or stuff like that. But I think Marina had like a kind of like she has like a different taste in a way. Or the songs are not like really based on the music I listen to. I think.
No, I started listening to Nirvana and the Pixies and stuff like that when I was 14. Yeah, that's how my musical journey started, more in that genre.
It's a good place to start.
Yeah,
it's a very good place to start.
And then later I got more into like the Beatles, Buddy Holly, classic things, Roy Orbison.
Yeah.
And nowadays I listen to everything.
Well, it's the beauty of the internet, is that so much music is so easily accessible now.
Yeah, definitely.
If you want to find out about Turkish folk music from the 60s, you just punch it into Google and they're like, here, this is all you need to know.
Yeah, definitely.
When you guys are writing, when you're actually writing your music, because you have so many...
Marina writes all the songs.
Writes everything. So we'll just add, what is your process like? Do you get the melodies first? Do you get the lyrics first? Is it a combination?
Definitely the melody. But when I make up the melody, when I think of a melody, I hear which kind of words should be there. So the sound that the words make, kind of. Then also, but I think it's different. Some songs come more in that way, through, more kind of intuitive. And other songs are more directly an emotion that I feel. So I know what it's going to be about, what I'm singing about.
Sure. And then usually the lyrics just flow pretty simply once you have that melody.
Exactly, yeah.
So you, English, I'm guessing, is not your first language.
No.
So you write beautiful lyrics in English. Other than going to school to learn how to speak English, how do you write in a second language, so to speak?
Well, we grew up hearing English, watching movies and listening to a lot of music.
Do you sometimes look for translations, or does it just flow completely naturally like it's a first language to you?
No, definitely not. There are a lot of words that I don't know yet. And sometimes I read a nice sentence or I discover a cool word that I didn't know before, and then I write it down and
figure out a way to get into your next song.
Yeah. Or maybe it inspires me to write something about that subject. Really.
When you're working on the actual music, you have these pop hooks on some of the songs, like, I Am Over Here, and then Volcano Lagoon, which is ridiculously addictive. I love that song. How do you come up with those versus kind of the more exploratory, kind of almost more meditative, insightful songs? Do they come from different moods? Yeah,
it's definitely from an emotion that I feel. And I just get this feeling of, I need to get my guitar now and do something right now, because then I know that I will write a song. It's very intuitive.
When you come up with a hook, something that's really catchy, do you know it when you've got it, or do you just kind of like bring it to the band and you're like, is this any good?
No, I usually know when it's good, because I write a lot of parts that I never end up using, and I have all these sound files on my phone.
Just things you're humming, or little riffs and stuff.
Exactly. And sometimes when I flip through all these little sound files, I hear one that I think, whoa, it's actually pretty good, and then I do use it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The secrets come out.
Wow.
I really also like the surf rock sound that you get on Vinny, and then you can kind of feel it on the song after that. Do you realize the influences when you're writing? You're like, oh, this is going to be more surf rocky. We need some more reverb on this song versus the others.
That's definitely more Jasper doing that.
I don't know. Also with the arrangements, it comes really naturally. Kind of. Marina writes the songs and she records them just with like her rhythm guitar and her vocals. There's almost no arrangements in her demos. So we just start playing the songs actually. And sometimes I have like a little image in my head of what the bass line should be like already a little bit, and then I just start playing it, and then Nick starts drumming along, and and Bram, the guitar player, he starts playing along, and if we feel like the guitar needs a little bit more reverb on that part, then it might end up sounding a little surfy or something. But it's never like, okay, let's make a surf song or something. It's just intuitive too. Like,
you just kind of get the bones of it, and then you guys just kind of jam until you find the rest of the song.
Yeah. And like with all the songs we do now, it went pretty fast too. Like we didn't spend hours and hours on arrangements. We just started playing them, and like in a couple of minutes we already had kind of like the basics of the arrangement.
Just let it be and don't overthink it. Let it be the song it's gonna be.
Yeah.
So when you were recording, you guys recorded in a bunker?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
How does one find a bunker, let alone like put everything in it you need to record a record?
Yeah, I think it was built in like the late 50s or early 60s in Amsterdam in the Vondel Park.
So it was like Cold War era, probably.
Yeah, Cold War bunker. And I think they never used it as a bunker because it was kind of like, okay, pretty soon people were like, okay, maybe we don't actually need this. So then for a while it was a music venue. And I think like in the late 60s, like Led Zeppelin played there and Pink Floyd.
Sure.
And it was a club for a while, and then it was just nothing for a long time, and then like this ex-criminal got a hold of it, and he rented it out or something to my previous band. And then he moved on, and now it's like the local government kind of bought it, and they rent it out to us.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did that?
But it doesn't really. When you're inside, it doesn't really look like a bunker. We just like it looks nice and cozy. And it's also our practice space. So we recorded the songs, the whole album, in our practice space.
Nice.
Actually. So it felt really natural and like really. We just played the song, and we also recorded them like almost like a couple of weeks after we finished the arrangement. So it was all still really fresh.
Sure.
We did 2 shows before we recorded the album. So if I hear the album now, I'm like, okay, maybe we should have done a couple of more shows. Yeah.
But I like that it's...
Yeah, it's fresh.
It's recorded in that certain period, and that's why...
It's raw.
Yeah.
So now you guys are here in the States for a little while.
Yeah.
You guys are doing New York, and then you're going to do South by Southwest, right? You guys are doing
some shows in between, and then after South by we go to LA, and also do a couple of shows in between that.
And jumping back a bit, what current bands are you guys really into? Like, what musicians do you guys really like right now?
Beach House.
Okay,
that's a band we both really like. Yeah. They have a total unique sound. Like there's no band that sounds like them.
So good.
Yeah.
How would you guys define your band? Because that's the biggest problem I've had is when people say, well, what do they like? Because they say, there's a great band you got to hear, and I can't quite capture or like
everyone says that
accurately.
That's what I like about this band, kind of, because it, I don't want to brag or something, but I kind of think it has like a timeless.
It's true.
Quality to it, even if you don't really like it or something, that's kind of something you would have to admit, I think, because it's not like retro 60s pop. We're not trying to sound like the Beatles or something, or there's elements of like all decades in pop in it, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was telling people. It's retro, but it's retro in every possible version of the word retro. There's moments where it's like, that really great 60s girl group sound in the harmonies sometimes.
Yeah.
And then you've got that kind of classic Buddy Holly era, just some of the guitar tones that you get there. And then you get some psych sounds, some of the dream pop, almost Mazzy Star sounds.
I even hear some grunge in it too.
Yeah.
Like her songwriting is a bit grungy sometimes. But we don't use distortion or anything. But if you would like change the arrangements around a little bit, you could turn like at least 2 songs on the album. You could turn them into a grunge song easily.
You're gonna put some
funny.
fuzz. You're gonna do some remixes with some fuzz on them. And really get it
we could do
grindy.
that, yeah.
Do you guys have a favorite part of the album? A favorite song from this record? One you really love playing live?
I think my favorite is Volcano Lagoon. But I like them all.
Of course. I mean, they're your children. It's hard to be like, I like you more. Yeah. You're writing all the time then, clearly, because you said you're recording stuff into your phone all the time. How long do you think until you guys are going to start recording another album, since it seems like you guys just really enjoy the creative process?
Well, the thing is, I can't really force myself to write songs. So I wrote a few new songs, obviously.
I knew it.
But I don't know when we will have enough to make a whole album. I can't say. But I think it won't take too long. I hope not. No.
My thanks again to Irie Wanda for making some time to chat with me. I cannot recommend this record highly enough. I have been playing it like non-stop. It is so damn good. So go over to beyondbeyondisbeyond.com. Get your copy now, and they're on Twitter and Facebook, Eerie Wanda. Before we call it a week, though, I do, of course, have your weekly Earfuel assignment. For those of you new to the podcast, welcome. Each week, I assign an album to listen to in full, beginning to end, without any distractions or interruptions. It stems from the idea that these days, music has been largely relegated to a background task for most people. You're driving, you're at work, you're at the gym, whatever. And this homework is about consciously listening to music for the sake of the music alone. This week, your assignment is Isaac Hayes' flawless 1969 masterpiece, Hot Buttered Soul. Those who know me have heard me sing the praises of this record for at least 20 years, as I truly believe this is a record that should be issued to every human upon birth. It's both that good and that musically important. See, by the time Isaac Hayes sat down to record Hot Buttered Soul, he'd already written tons of hits for Stax Records, and it was really what he had learned across the way that allowed this record to become so special. Well, that and one other thing. This is one of those albums that falls into the category of records that kinda weren't supposed to happen. See, he'd already released a solo debut, and it really did not do very well. But then Stax Records separates from Atlantic Records in '68, and Stax loses their entire back catalog. So they needed a ton of brand new music to put out there real quick, or they were going to sink. So they asked Isaac to go record a new record, and he agreed, but with one stipulation. He needed to have complete creative control on this record. And while he had been in the music industry for a very long time and it was definitely very well respected, chances are the label weren't going to bend to that for him in that time. But they did. They agreed, and he completely rewrote the book on soul and funk and, powerful emotional music in general. There's only 4 songs here, 2 per side, but he packs more musical perfection in than most groups do in an entire career. You've got full string sections, killer performances from the Bar-Kays. I mean, the musicianship is just top-notch, and yet Hayes himself never moves from the center of every second on it. There's just this raw, completely unguarded feel to both his singing and playing that instantly hooks you, and it keeps you totally entranced for the entire run of the album. There's that perfect soul sound of Walk On By alongside the grinning and lengthily titled song Hyperbolic Syllabic Sesquidalemistic. If I got that one right, I think I nailed it. And then the other side is the perfect pairing of relationship drama with One Woman and By the Time I Get to Phoenix. You can truly feel the steam coming off of this record, and many see it as the framework for Marvin Gaye and what he did on his What's Going On record a few years later. But make no mistake, Hot Buttered Soul is the real deal, and then some. If the groove on Hyperbolic, I won't do the rest of the name, doesn't get you, get your soul checked, because it's clearly broken. For whatever reason, though, Hot Buttered Soul rarely gets its credit and accolades that it so deserves for the level of musicianship, as well as the influence it had on later performers. This is a one-of-a-kind masterpiece of a record, plain and simple. 45 minutes of funky soul perfection. And if you don't know it, go change that right now. Thank me later. So that's all for this week. My thanks again to Eerie Wanda, and you can find me on Twitter at @GetEarfuel and @TheDailyGuru. The podcast is always available in the iTunes store under Earfuel and at SoundCloud.com/GetEarfuel. And hey, if you dug it, go tell a friend or three. That is your weekly Earfuel. Share and enjoy.